I've got a bit of a thing lined up today. A bit of a mad scientist build that I've been crafting for the good part of, like, since yesterday. And it is this. My beautiful hunter build. Yeah, straight off the bat, you can notice the man's got the ascension. And you might think, well, this build's gonna be shit, but nah. Oh, no, no, no. No, 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 no. This is possibly the most fun I've ever had with the build. Without a shadow of a doubt. The most fun I have ever had with a build. And today I want to show it off. So, let's start off. For a start, yes, the main exotic weapon of this is going to be the Manticore. It's a Void SMG, firing at 900 rounds per minute, which comes with the Swooping Talent trait, dealing damage while airborne increases his weapon's damage output, and the intrinsic trait of Soaring Fang, on which dealing damage on the ground charges a little meter, and then when you jump in the air and deal damage, the meter will be drained, and you will be held in the air, allowed to float around and rain down damage from above. You can then hold the reload button, for me that's square, to very safely drop to the ground. I also have its catalyst, which states that while I am airborne, sustained damage and vulnerability of this weapon to difficult combatants will give me a void overshield, and it will basically tarnish combatant accuracy to allow you to have even more survivability while you're in air, and give you a sort of rewind rounds perk. But instead of just rewinding your rounds at the end of the magazine, it rewinds the rounds while you're doing the magazine. My opinion is what rewind rounds should be, but oh well, what do I know? And our main armor for this is going to be the Gifted Conviction, in which activating the Ascension or Tempest Strike aspects on Arc or Prismatic throws around bouncing explosives and nearby targets that jolt and damage them. Jolting those targets will also give you 2 times damage resistance. Sometimes I've seen 3 times damage resistance, but more often than not it's 2 times. In terms of our aspects and fragments, we're going to be taking, of course, Ascension, which is kind of necessary for the chest piece that we are running, which states that activating your class ability while airborne will consume the class ability to summon your arc staff, propelling you upwards and creating a burst of energy that amplifies you and your allies and jolts nearby targets. I'll be making use of Gunpowder Gamble, which states that defeating targets with abilities, elemental debuff damage, or solar weapons will charge up an improvised solar grenade. Specifically, this is coded as a grenade. That will be important for later. Once you build up 6 charges, you'll be able to throw the explosive, which can be shot in midair to cause an ignition. We're also going to be making use of snare bombs to inflict weaken and to give ourselves some more void. We're also going to be using arc bolt grenades, which are going to be important for another one of our fragments. And we're going to be using the Shadow Shot Super for even more weaken to help out our weapons, and also to make sure that our void siphon abilities and void abilities on our armor are a little bit cheaper. In terms of aspects, Facet of Sacrifice. While you have an Arc, Solar, or Void buff, ability Final Blows will grant bonus Darkness Transcendence energy. It's going to be important because we don't have a lot of Darkness damage on us, and we do have a lot of Arc, Solar, and Void buffs going on. For instance, we have Amplified, we have Overshields, which are 2 of the main ones. We also have Facet of Hope. While you have an elemental buff, your class ability regenerates more quickly. meaning that the amplifier that we get from Ascension is going to be able to charge another Ascension quicker, and any void overshields we get from Manticore are going to be allowing Manticore to recharge our class ability when we don't have amplified for whatever reason. We have Facet of Bravery, in which defeating targets with grenade final blows will grant volatile rounds to our void weapons, and defeating targets with powered melees will grant unraveling rounds to our strand weapons. This is going to be important because, as stated earlier, Gunpowder Gamble is coded as a grenade, meaning any kills that we get with Gunpowder Gamble are going to be feeding back into Facet of Bravery, giving Manticore volatile rounds to allow Manticore to feed back into getting more Gunpowder Gambles. It basically feeds into each other, and I really like that. It also matters that we're going to have our powered melee final blows giving us unraveling rounds, because, well, one of our weapons is a strand weapon, and it's a pretty good strand weapon. Plus, it's another debuff, which will allow us to feed back into Gunpowder Gamble yet again. We also have Facet of Dominance, in which our void grenades beacon targets, most importantly, are arc grenades jolt targets. This will allow us to throw out even more jolt with arc bolt grenades, which is another debuff to throw into the pile, because we don't have enough of those already. Facet of Protection, so that when we're surrounded by combatants, we become more resistant to incoming damage, which is going to be very important because with this build, we're going to be using an SMG and we're going to be using a rocket sidearm, so we're going to be pretty close to enemies at pretty much all points. And while Transcendent, the effect is increased, it's just a nice add-on. And finally, Facet of Purpose. Picking up an Orb of Power grants either Amplified, Restoration, Frost Armor, Woven Mail, or in our case, Overshield, based on the damage of our equipped super. Our equipped super, of course, being Shadow Shot, meaning we're going to be getting even more Overshields, not just from Manticore, but from picking up any orbs that we make. Going back onto weapons, our main primary kinetic, or special kinetic, is going to be the Call, which I've kitted out with Smart Drift Control and Implosion rounds. The most important reason we're using the Call is, for a start, it's a sidearm, meaning we can take use of unstoppable sidearms to take care of a champion type, and also because it rolls with Strategist, which states that final blows of this weapon generate improved class ability energy. In the case of Enhanced Strategist, it is 11%. We can't really take advantage of the second part of the trait, in which activating your class ability increases the weapon's stability, as activating Ascension does not count as using your class ability for this, but the stability is at 60 anyway, so it's pretty good already. This is the main reason that we're using the Call. The Strategist giving us 11% more class ability energy to be able to use Ascension over and over and over again really just completes the loop, and I really like it. Plus, it's our main darkness energy, so it'll be filling up our darkness bar while also feeding back into Ascension, so yay. We're also going to be using Hatchling, just because why not have Threadlings as well? We've got enough, so why not have more? And in terms of our heavy weapon, to be honest, you can literally use anything in this column. We've got overloads can be sorted out with hand cannons, in which more often than not I'm using Vorpicula with shoot to do explosive payload. I've been using that a lot recently, as you can tell. But to be honest, with the amount of jolt that we're throwing around with both Ascension and Arc Bolts, and the amount of times we're getting Ascension back, it's not as necessary. You can still take it if you want to take it, but to be honest, it's a bit overkill in my opinion. As stated earlier, for your heavy, you can quite literally use whatever you want. For me, I'm using my Cascade Bait and Switch Edge Transit, just for the extra damage on bosses, and because it's pretty easy to proc Bait and Switch and Cascade Point while using a sidearm and an SMG. But as stated, you can literally use whatever you want. Sometimes I've gone around using a sword just for the extra overload and for the extra movement. It's completely up to you. But I really do recommend using Edge Transit because Edge Transit is good. In terms of our armor mods, these don't really matter. You can do whatever you want from them, but I do recommend building into resilience and mobility if you so desire for better reduction on your class ability cooldown. But to be honest, with the amount of class ability I'm getting, you don't really need that much mobility. I'm running 50, as you can see, and I'm still getting quite a lot of ascensions. So, to be honest, go for resilience, go for discipline, go for mobility if you want, but just standard. On our helmet, we're going to be using Void Siphon to make sure our Manticore is making orbs of power, because who doesn't want more orbs of power? It's giving us overshields, so that's pretty good. And 2 Ashes to Assets to make sure we're getting more value out of our Arc Bolt Grenades. On our arms, we're going to be using Firepower, so that our Arc Bolt Grenades are going to be generating orbs of power for us to give us some more overshields and some more super energy. We're going to be using Bolstering Detonation to give us class ability energy when we cause damage with those Arc Bolt Grenades. And we're going to be using Fastball here because I don't have enough space, but if you do have the space, I recommend either another Bolstering Detonation for even more class ability energy gains, or I do also recommend a Harmonic Loader just to increase the reload speed on Manticore so that you can keep in the air even more often and just keep its uptime going. It also works for Edge Transit if you have that going to keep its DPS going. It's just a good thing to add, nice bit of quality of life. On our chest piece, charged up simply so that which are going to come into play with our class ability data, but so I'll explain that in a moment. Any harmonic resistances you might need, and our harmonic reserves simply for our edge transit, although it's completely up to you. On our legs, Installation to give us even more class ability cooldown each time we pick up an orb of power. So now every time we pick up an orb of power, that's going to be giving us both overshields and our ascension back. Absolution, so that we can dip further into class ability energy, but also get back our melees and our grenade. And I use a harmonic holster because I don't like having to reload my edge transit after every time I use it. And finally, our class item, in which I just use 2 utility kickstarts, so that every time I've used my ascension and I have 3 armor charges, I can use up those armor charges to get some of my class ability energy back. I believe it's about 20% I'll be getting, so it just allows me to keep on using ascension more and more. As I stated earlier, it'll be giving us 3, hence it'll be using up 3, hence why I use charged up. So let's have another one. So let's have another armor charge in reserve. As for our artifact, we are going to be using Unstoppable Sidearm, so that the call can take care of unstoppable champions. Of course, you can use any other strand sidearm, breach light, Michael's reference. It's whatever you fancy, but I do prefer the call because it comes crafted and it's a rocket sidearm. Rocket sidearms are good. You can also, if you so wish, use an Unstoppable Scout Rifle for a Strand Scout Rifle, for instance, Fang of Iryu, I believe, Guiding Sight, or Glizzy. But I do prefer using Unstoppable Sidearm. Overload Hand Cannon because, well, I need the space. And Anti-Barrier Submachine Gun, so that our Manticore can take care of those pesky barriers. Barrier Servitors, Barrier Hobgoblins, Barrier Knights, anything that's causing you a bit of worry. We're going to be using Winning Hand, so that anytime our call scores a rapid final blow or a precision final blow, it will create a solar explosion. Overcharged Armory, so that our dealer's choice is constant, so that our call with dealer's choice is constantly overcharged. Elemental Siphon, which will allow our Manticore and our Edge Transit to create Void Breaches whenever they score a rapid final blow. Overload Sword, because I need the space. Threaded blast, so that if we create a tangle with our core, we can detonate it using the core to create a larger and more damaging explosion. Galvanic armor, meaning that any time we have amplified, we're going to be even more damage resistant. And void hegemony, which means that any time we're defeating a weakened target with either our melee or our super, we're going to be getting even more overshield from them. Expanding abyss, so that those weakened targets are going to be taking more damage from our void weapons. And transference, so that if we do go transcendent, we gain increased grenade and melee damage, and that when we get weapon final blows with our manticore or our edge transit, that we're going to be getting some light energy back after transcendence ends. That's all for the setup and how we're running the build. I've also got the, if you so wish, I've also got the transmog. I know some people quite like to look at the fashion. And yeah, that's the general setup. So, let's get ourselves into an activity and I'll show you how it generally works. I think a good place to show off the build will be in the current Nightfall of the Glassway. We've got some Overload champions we can take care of, and some Barrier champions we can take care of. One of the most important things about this build is keeping up your Manticore energy. So you can see, at the moment, enemies are hurting me a lot. Well, you can really see the amount of overshields we get from one orb of power. It's really something. Really good for survivability. And of course we're making a lot of orbs of power, so it's going to be good for the survivability. Throw out an arc bolt. There's some jolt. Clear out the room to give us even more jolt, and here is our Scepter. Dude, didn't even get a chance. Wow. But yeah, to be honest, with this build, you can really just throw around your abilities and it'll just work for you. Over here I can show you, look, we get 11 seconds of volatile rounds. Oh, no, overload. And now I'll stun our dear old overload, literally immediately. And of course I have my arc bolt ready to go as well, which could have stunned him. And look, just like that, after using after using Ascension, I've already got another Ascension ready to go to throw even more jolt, even more amplified, and just keep me happy. I think the only way that this build could be improved is if I had Strategist and Shoot-to-Loot. Or Sidearm. That is literally the only way this can improve. We'll have another overload coming on soon. So we can take care of him. I always find this particular overload to be kind of buggy. because sometimes he'll like change terrains and the upload won't work. One thing I also will recommend is running high jump as your jump, just so you can get the extra height to throw out your amplified jolt and jolting explosives in a wider area. And also to make sure that you're constantly above the ground with Manticore. Yeah, I can genuinely just flip about like this and be completely fine. Because I got Manticore covering me. Until I do leave the ground, but even then that's fine because I can pick up all the opposite power that I've left around, give myself a constant overshield. And for anything that's just slightly out of range, whoo. Whoo. No stress. Anyway, and for anything, as I said, that's come slightly out of range, we have our rocket sidearm to take care of it. The original idea for the build was something that I had thought of with Stompies a while ago, which was, how do you make yourself unkillable while you're floating around in the air? Turns out it's like this. Look, we got another that. Yeah. That does give me a good time to say that, or call attention to what happened with the volatile. I was killing enemies with the volatile that I got from the gunpowder gamble. And that same volatile fed back into another gunpowder gamble. It's just abilities flowing back into abilities, flowing back into abilities. It's way too fun. You have no idea how much I'm restraining from giggling like a child right now. Hello. And blow the load. Nice. Sorry, I'm just looking in for a little bit. Yeah, you can see I'm reloading a lot. That's why I'm recommending to put on a avoid. Oh, what's it called? Yeah. Wait for the teleport. Perfect. Nope. Should be the last phase. Jesus Christ. Well, that was quick. But yeah, that's pretty much the design loop of the build. Everything feeds into each other. Everything's feeding into each other. Everything's interacting with each other. Also, you can throw out as many ascensions as you want. It's a very fun build. I absolutely recommend giving it a try if you have the time. And I can't see my friends. Please fix this, Bungie. Absolutely give this a try if you want. Very fun, and yeah, I'm very proud of it. Yeah.